This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN.
Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and I am happy to tell you that Apple has finally fixed the MacBook Air. Let me tell you why. But first, we need to talk about some history about the original MacBook Air. Now, most of us Mac fans remember that brilliant presentation that Steve Jobs did when he pulled a MacBook Air out of a manila envelope. And we remember that iconic design. It was a super sleek and thin looking laptop. It ditched things like the CD drive way ahead of its time, and it was also a computer where you could get flash storage as an optional upgrade. But despite how thin and futuristic looking that original MacBook Air was, that wasn't the one that most people love. That original MacBook Air had a ton of problems with it. It had a very slow processor, had a limited number of ports, and it was expensive. It started at $1,799. Now, the MacBook Air that most people fondly remember is actually the second revision, which started in 2011 and addressed a lot of the complaints about the original MacBook Air, most notably adding even more ports, fixing the thermal design, and best of all, introducing a new starting price at just $999. Granted, that was for the smaller 11-inch size, but it was still an important milestone to hit that price point. And over the years, almost every single Ultrabook or thin and light laptop would borrow inspiration from that 2011 design of the MacBook Air. Now, as the years went on, the MacBook Air continued to receive updates. However, these were mostly internal updates, with eventually Apple kind of letting the MacBook Air fall to the wayside in favor of the really thin MacBook, which ironically suffered a lot of the problems of the original MacBook Air. And then when Apple stopped frequently updating the MacBook, Apple's recommendation for MacBook Air lovers was to buy an entry-level MacBook Pro, even though that computer started at $1,299 and wasn't necessarily the computer that people knew and loved. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of nuance I'm missing here, and I'm not really covering all the history of the MacBook Air, but basically, that 2011 got a lot of revisions, and it kept in the line for a long time, getting processor upgrades, getting upgrades to the RAM, getting upgrades to the storage options. But the idea of a non-Retina MacBook Air stuck around in Apple's lineup for a long time to reach that $999 US price point, and that non-Retina version was still a very, very popular seller, even being featured in Linus Tech Tips video as one of the highest selling laptops on Amazon. Now, people love that original design of the MacBook Air, and the slight revisions it had since then, but they had one big feature request for that laptop, a Retina display. Basically, Apple could have kept the same design and just slapped on a Retina display, and most people would have been happy. Apple ignored those requests for quite some time, but eventually they gave people what they wanted with the reintroduction of the MacBook Air in 2018. That 2018 MacBook Air had the iconic tapered design, the Retina display that people wanted. It was still a thin and light laptop with an excellent build quality made out of aluminum. But it still had its fair share of issues. Number one, it was expensive, starting at $1,199. Number two, it only came with one dual-core Y-series configuration. And number three, it came with the butterfly keyboard. A keyboard that has drawn the hate of so many people, not only for reliability issues, but also its shorter keyboard travel, even being slammed at the Oscars. Now, a year later, there was a slight revision to the 2019 model, which brought two changes: the addition of the True Tone display, and more importantly, a $100 price drop to $1,099. Still, that was not a return to the magic $999 price point of the past, and worst of all, that entry-level model was one I found hard to recommend with the lackluster 128GB solid-state drive. Now, something I have no problem recommending is a great VPN, which is why you should check out our sponsor for this video, Surfshark VPN. What is Surfshark? Surfshark is a forward-thinking privacy protection tool which guarantees instant online safety and offers a no-frills usage experience. Surfshark VPN encrypts all the data sent to the internet so that no one can see your passwords, private messages, steal photos, videos, or other sensitive data. To put it simply, Surfshark protects its users in the open waters of today's internet. It's also great for traveling to other countries so you can connect to Wi-Fi without worrying about sharing your data with strangers, and great for getting past geo-restricted content blockers and internet censorship so you can still access the websites you love even when traveling abroad. Surfshark is also multi-platform, so it works on all of your favorite devices, including iOS, Android, macOS, and Windows. Best of all, Surfshark is offering viewers of Greg's Gadgets an 83% discount and 1 month extra free. That's one of the best prices in the industry, and all you have to do is enter the promo code Greg's Gadgets when you sign up by clicking the link in the description below. It's that easy. So make sure you protect and secure your sensitive data with Surfshark, and thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Today, as I sit here in the year of 2020, I am happy to report that the MacBook Air is back, because now it's getting a $100 price drop, bringing the entry-level model back down to the original starting price of $999. It also comes with double the storage, a 256 gigabyte solid-state drive, fixing my low storage complaint on the last two models. Furthermore, this isn't the only configuration of the MacBook Air you can buy. It now comes with options for higher spec CPUs, now with options for a quad-core i5 or i7 that should lend themselves better and appeal to even more users who are hitting the limits of those low-powered dual-core processors. Now I can talk about processors, I can talk about storage, and I can talk about price, all points that Apple has nailed with this latest MacBook Air. But there's probably something even more important to a lot of people out there, and that would be the keyboard. And they fixed it. Apple has added in a Magic Keyboard, first introduced on the 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro. Frequent viewers of my channel will know that I have never personally had an issue with the butterfly keyboard, and you're probably sick of hearing me say that. I also didn't mind the typing experience on it, but a lot of people did have issues, and a lot of people hated the short travel that you got on butterfly keyboards. Now that too is fixed, and the Magic Keyboard on the Air is just as good as the one introduced in the 16-inch MacBook Pro, allowing for an increased 1mm of travel on the keys. The keyboard also returns the arrow keys to the inverted T shape, and unlike the MacBook Pro, it lacks the touch bar on the keyboard, opting for a normal row of function keys that are mapped to quick actions like changing the volume or brightness. I think some customers might actually choose a lower powered Air just on the fact that it retains the normal function key layout, but still gives you the convenient Touch ID sensor for logging into your laptop, system administrator, apps, and websites. There's also some other improvements to this 2020 MacBook Air that I should mention. The speakers get a 2x bass boost, and the new 3-array microphone, which is pitched at being better for video calls, actually sounds pretty good. This is a test using the new MacBook Air's 3-array microphone. Although the lackluster 720p webcam still graces the MacBook Air, I guess some things never change. Now, if everything I'm mentioning here sounds like a complete fix of the previous generation model, there's still some things that old MacBook Air fans aren't going to like. Things like only 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports, although powerful enough to drive external GPUs and 6K displays, might not be the port choices for the average consumer who still might have a lot of devices which have USB-A ports, and for people who want to import their photos with an SD card. And if you're a holdout still using a non-Retina MacBook Air, you might also miss things like Apple's MagSafe chargers, which are now a thing of the past. Also, let's not forget the awesome, iconic, glowing Apple logo on the back of Apple laptops, which don't exist anymore. Those lit up logos were illuminating everywhere, and you would see them at cafes, schools, and everywhere in Apple keynotes. You also, at least on this entry-level $999 model using the Core i3 processor, aren't getting the performance you need for workloads that value sustained clock speed and adequate thermal cooling. Not to mention, there's also increased competition from sleeker Windows competitors that weren't around in the golden age of the MacBook Air. I mean, just take a look at products like the Surface laptop. They look like the MacBook Air with a Surface logo slapped on the back. The whole modern laptop industry in this price range is still taking inspiration from the 2011 MacBook Air, not to mention the increased competition offered by Apple themselves, who now pitch iPads as laptop replacements. This MacBook Air was launched right alongside the latest iPad Pro, which for the same $999, you'll get a device that packs even more power thanks to Apple's custom-designed A-series chips. Not to mention the incredible value of devices like the iPad Air and entry-level iPad, which start at just $329. But as it stands, right here today, I think I can say that most of the previous issues of the 2018 and 2019 MacBook Air are now finally fixed. And for the first time, I can finally recommend an entry-level model MacBook Air for most consumers who want a solid, lightweight laptop with excellent build quality, a good sharp display, good battery life, a fantastic keyboard, good enough starting storage, and finally, a return to normalcy with a sub $1,000 laptop, well, at least by $1. Alright everyone, hopefully you liked that video. If you did, make sure you give me a like. I'm also planning to do a more detailed review of the MacBook Air, so if you're interested in seeing that video, make sure you're subscribed. Also be sure to let me know what you think of the 2020 MacBook Air in the comments below. Do you agree with me that Apple finally got it right on this particular laptop series, or do you disagree and wish they added even more features? Also be sure to check out our sponsor for this video, Surfshark VPN. If you want to support the channel out in any way, make sure you check out some of the links in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.